after that spectacular mark, his third of the match, and having kicked 2 goals so far, has 99 goals to his name, kicks in for the 100th goal, and there it is!
Well, a great double for Fitzroy, Quinlan 100 goals and a place in the 5. Good evening, Peter Booth hosting tonight's football panel. The final 5 is Essendon, Hawthorn, Carlton, Collingwood and also Fitzroy. The league ladders, you see it there with Geelong missing out, Footscray and the Wooden Spoon going to St Kilda. Highlights from round 22 at the Junction Oval. Fitzroy never in doubt. They defeated St Kilda by 57 points, and Barwick and Osborne exciting players of the future. At VFL Park, Hawthorn certainly put paid to Geelong, winning the game by 69 points. Matthews 7 goals, 6 of those before half-time. At Victoria Park, a tight game all day. The Magpies outscored Footscray by 6 goals to 0 in the final term to win running away by 43 points. At Princes Park, the Swans made Carlton really earn their keep and pressed them all day. Carlton outscored them by 7 goals to 2 in the final term and won the game by 36 points. Warwick Kappa, exciting as usual, 6 goals for the Sydney Swans. At the MCG, the co-tenants, Richmond and Melbourne, scores levelled at half-time. The Tigers won the game by 28 points. At Windy Hill, great kicking by Essendon. At one stage on the board, 25-3. They defeated a very plucky North Melbourne by 38 points. 2 reports today. Terry Bright of Geelong reported, and also North Melbourne's Donald McDonald. Our studio guest tonight is Ray Card. Will be disappointed, I suppose, because he had the job of minding Lee Matthews early in the match. And after-match interviews with David CLOKE, Bernie Quinlan and also Robert Walls. Our replay at 6:30 tonight, the final term from Victoria Park, Collingwood and Footscray. We've seen the ladder, now next week's matches. The qualifying final at VFL Park on Saturday between, Hawthorn and Carlton, and the elimination final at the MCG on Sunday between Collingwood and Fitzroy. Our first review tonight, and I'll have a glass of water while it's going on, I think. Our first review tonight is Collingwood and Footscray, and the final score, Collingwood 16-18, 114, Footscray 9-17, 71. Gary Shaw and Williams 3 for Collingwood, Sewell, Steve McPherson, Edwards 2 for Footscray. In footy bet, game number 3, selection 8, dividend $11.90. Mike Fitzpatrick and Jeff Leake were there today, and first up it's Mike Fitzpatrick.
Well, Collingwood opened at the Yarra Falls end with a bit of a breeze. They started without Allen and Dacos. Footscray came out without Klomp and put in Butch Edwards for a sudden reappearance. And Collingwood opened very well and led pretty well all day and seemed to be in control of the match all day, other than a couple of instances. In the second quarter, Footscray won 9. That was probably their opportunity to win the match, and they failed to do so. They also did very well in time on in the third quarter when they kicked 3. They came at three-quarter time, only 8 points down. And from there, Collingwood simply powered away into what was then very little breeze. And I think the cause behind it really was a top-heavy side that Footscray had picked. The addition of Edwards didn't seem to give them the same sort of ability around the ground, and also the Foreign Legion, or the Tiger Legion of Rains and CLOKE, was very influential. Rains, particularly in the third quarter, breaking down the ground, kicking some very long penetrating kicks, really ripped Footscray apart.
Fifth kick, runs off, kicks to half forward, Kellett though. Oh! Chipping in front is Rains. Well, Kellett looked as if he had his name written all over that one, but Rains comes in, the beautiful long kick. It's looking there for forward, no to mark. No, he couldn't quite grab it through from behind.
Gee, there were some exciting individual efforts and duels today too at the match, but I guess tonight the Footscray camp, including their supporters, are very disappointed with glory staring them in the face, and after what they've done in recent weeks to get into the finals would be just so great for them. But they didn't seize on the opportunity today to take it that step further. They lacked the manpower, the experience of the players, and the ability to stop a very fast finishing Collingwood. It wasn't Mickey Malthouse's fault. I feel that he fought it out tooth and nail right to the end. He's certainly not frightened to switch players around. He switched wingers. He had used intelligently his interchange players, forwards to backs and backs to forwards, with Edwards bobbing up on the back line, then at full forward. And I guess if they had more players like Jim Sewell, who was also swung from forward into defence, Footscray would have a much better lineup. Sewell was great. 2 goals, 3 today.
Back into play. Royal it is. To Beasley at the back. He's bounded again. Jim Sewell a chance. Vitas from goal. A lovely screw shot over his head. That's a goal. Well read by Jim Sewell.
The Collingwood midfielders did pretty well. The Shaws in general, the three of them all had reasonable sort of days. Tony Shaw playing extremely well. The wings were very interesting with McLean, who had beaten Glasgow so well last week, having a lot of trouble with Ricky Barham. Hawkins was brought across to Barham, but it wasn't enough to slow him down. Dougie Hawkins, I guess, controlled him for about a quarter, but on the day, Barham won very well in his wing.
The left forward pocket. Collingwood's CLOKE down to Richardson. Clever play by Richardson across to Barham. Barham can go for a run. He can kick it over the top to McMullen. McMullen running into the goal area. He can let it go, and Barham has kicked a magnificent goal.
Well, over the years, on important occasions, Collingwood have not been frightened to introduce a little bit of something new and something old. The new today was youngster Ian McMullen, who played his first game. Certainly a player with the future, has all the poise and to finish that Collingwood side. Played on the forward line, looked really great. And the old, we'll talk about him a little bit before we see something of him. I believe the turning point in the game came about the 9-minute mark in the final quarter when Cale put Ronnie Andrews on the field. He came on, his first mark was typical of Andrews. He came on and would have crashed the pack down in the grandstand, but he took a great mark and followed up by another one shortly after it and had a hand in a couple more. And Andrews, I believe, made the difference in Collingwood winning this game today. He takes this mark from the kick from Banks, and that was a very strong mark. He just came on the ground at this stage, a very powerful mark. At this stage, Collingwood were only 9 points in front. Andrews nonplussed, of course, because he's been used to those big occasions, and that was really a great mark, Fitz.
Yes, it was a fine mark, and he really made his presence felt as soon as he came on the ground, Andrews. He kicked 2 goals and then provided a handball for the third one, and he certainly provided the icing on the cake, or the ceiling, I think, to the Collingwood effort. That's what he said. He wouldn't believe he was a fullback, would he?
And after the game, Clark Hansen spoke to another Collingwood big man, David CLOKE.
Pleasing way to go into the finals next week. What was the most pleasing aspect of Collingwood's performance?
Well, the pleasing aspect is the fellas just kept going at it all day. We knew it was going to be hard. Footscray had to win the game. They had nothing else to lose. They had to go out and just throw everything at us and win the game to stay there. So we knew that, so we just went out there and persevered. We didn't play real well up to half-time, but we were there still. Kept plugging away and just showed in the last quarter, if you keep persevering, it eventually does come.
Well, how did you see Footscray's performance today?
Well, it's a hard sort of thing to say how they play. They gave it all. They had opportunity in the game, but I think our pressure we had on them, we put on for the full quarters, eventually told them.
We apologise for some sound problems there. The Magpies by 43 points. At the MCG, the Tigers defeated the Demons by 28 points, scores level at half-time. Richmond 21-19, 145. Melbourne 18-9, 117. The Tigers 3 each to Poole, Pickering, Rawlings and Waitman. John Fidge 5 for the Demons and Cordner kicked 3. In footy bet, game number 6, selection 5, dividend $7.25. And there today, the battle of the co-tenants, Kevin Coghlan.
Well, Peter, there wasn't really much at stake at this game apart from pride. And at half-time there was no pride in either performance. But at least Richmond in the third quarter kicked 9 goals and settled the issue really beyond doubt. Melbourne appeared to have lost interest in the third quarter, but to their credit, at least they came back in the last quarter. I give credit today to Maurice Rioli in the centre. If ever there was a 3-vote performance, it was again from Rioli. I thought perhaps big Mark Lee and Peter Moore may have been the 2 stars of the day. They actually didn't perform as well as I expected. Lee was the better ruckman. Moore got kicks in defence, but neither one of them would have got votes. But Maurice Rioli in the centre, well supported by Waitman, Anea, Rawlings. The little players of Richmond did a great job for them. For Melbourne, perhaps it's a very disappointing end to a season that's showed so much promise halfway through. But there is something in the future for them. John Fidge, 5 goals, is a forward with a future, and David Cordner is a player who will give them something in the future. Fidge and Cordner, I think you've got to build a big team around that pair.
And just a final word on Robbie Flower. I think he's just about played everywhere. Back pocket today.
Back pocket he started, wing in the third quarter, forward pocket in the last quarter. It's a pity to see a player of that calibre to go out on such a low note as his team went out on. But never mind, Flower is a player of class and of character. He'll come back.
Thanks, Kev. The Tigers by 28 points at VFL Park, and Ray Card sitting next to me. You'll hear from Ray in a moment. Hawthorn hammered Geelong by 69 points. The final scores: Hawthorn 25-14, 164, Geelong 14-11, 95, Matthews 7, Robertson 4, and for Geelong, Terry Bright, who was reported 3, Jacko kicked 3, Ray Card, our guest. And in footy bet today, selection 10 from game number 1, dividend $9.65. Doug Hayward and Ray Walker. And first of all, it's up to you, Doug.
Well, we saw a wonderful first half, Pete, and then a deplorable second half. Deplorable from Geelong's point of view. I'm sure they'll be bitterly disappointed. They went for almost 40 minutes without scoring. For the second half, Hawthorn kicked 11-11 to Geelong's 3-3, and this was despite immense dominance of the ruck by John Mossop, this young farmer from Penola on the South Australian border. Gave his all throughout the match, but that was about it. Hawthorn, it was typical of them, their typical running game. Despite no ruck dominance, it was the Robertsons and the Greens and the Loveridges running past that kept the ball coming down to that forward line. As Ray Card said to me a few minutes ago, just in waves. You'd tackle one, there's another one. Tackle him, there's another one. And that's what Hawthorn do so well. I'd like to talk a little bit about the philosophy of a champion, and that's Lee Matthews. Lee Matthews I saw about 3 weeks ago, the day after an article had been written by Michael Sheehan about the day that the fact that the old champ might have been missing what he used to have been good at. And he took this criticism wonderfully well. We talked about it. He said, no problems. Mike's talking sense. He said, but maybe I should mentally prepare for this a little bit further. I should think more about the game. And today, Matthews was absolutely magnificent. He kicked 7 goals, and up until half-time he'd had 6 on the board. It was the Lee of old. I thought if the ball had been kicked to him well, he could have even got 10. With the old champ back in form, Hawthorn become very much a premiership contender against Essendon once again. We're going to have a look at Lee Matthews. Sorry, we are, Jim, because Lee really did some wonderful things today. 2 full forwards were absolutely magnificent.
Good running by Ablett. Out wide, Morgan. Awkward bounce, taken away by nearly best on ground, Lester Smith. Up the ground, Green. Judge again. Low pass is a beauty. What a pass that was to Robertson, and good mark too.
There's another player of extraordinary skill, Colin Robertson, makes that one-hander look so simple. Mossop's in there to take on the... Oh, Matthews beats him.
Well, I don't know what was the worst today, seeing the performance by Geelong at VFL Park or hearing the defeat of my beloved Bulldogs. But getting back to the game at VFL Park, as Doug suggested, it was a wonderful performance by Hawthorn today. They really crushed Geelong in that third quarter to take the game right away, kicking 7 goals, 7. They held Geelong to without a score. And in that remarkable third quarter, they had 132 possessions to Geelong's 66, which must be some sort of a league record for one quarter. But Geelong had very little to enthuse over today. Doug did touch on the performance of John Mossop in the ruck. I thought they had some battlers around the ground in Michael Cole, who did quite well for them. Whitcomb was another player who did well for them today, along with Morgan. Their champion half-forward, Gary Ablett, apart from 15 minutes of brilliance in the second quarter, was cut right out of the game. And another blow to them was Brian Peake, returning after a thigh injury, suffered another injury early in the game, and he was rendered useless almost for the rest of the game. But perhaps the highlight of the game in an individual effort was the performance of Mark Jackson, who showed great brute strength early on the game to take a tremendous mark and then play on and kick a great goal.
And a great hand pass to Flanagan, onto Bolton.
Bolton loves to run, and off he goes. He really can go too. He scurries away from Robertson, who's quick. Downfield, Jackson again. Oh, he's killing more. He is absolutely killing Kelvin. He's taken 4 marks. He's been instrumental in so many other jostling deals that have given teammates opportunities. Now, from about 30 metres out, he richly deserves this goal. And my word, there's no doubt about it either.
What's he doing? Biting him on the feet.
No, he was kissing his boots. He really won me today, and Peter, he wins you. I think when you look back, there's 2 clubs. This is his 3rd club. Melbourne gave up and said, go away, we don't want you. Went to St Kilda, only played 10 matches, and they said, look, we don't want you. Nobody else wanted him apart from Geelong. I haven't got the slightest doubt now that many, many clubs want Jacko. He was superb today. He absolutely killed Kelvin Moore and might have caused Kelvin to play his last game. And he's got the remarkable average of almost 4 goals per match since he's played in league football. It was a magnificent performance. For Hawthorn, I'd like to read a few statistics. I think it sums them up best. Ray so wisely put out the number of possessions they had. Loveridge 34, Green 30, Robertson 4 goals and a bundle of possessions. Buckenara came on, and this was a welcome addition for them. Had 19 possessions, with 14 were hand passes. Michael Tuck had a very leisurely day. He was the reason I thought that Ablett had his only 15 minutes when he didn't play at all well. But the player who was the real surprise packet to me was Lester Smith. He kicked 3 goals, and he was placed on the half-back flank. His opponent was Terry Bright. He was reported, was Terry, not Lester Smith, and Lester Smith just about assured himself of a place in the finals. And my word, this is a hard team that you're going to get into, because let's remember that there's Wallace, there's Peter Knights, there's all those sort of talented players still yet to get into this side.
Well, Doug, we were smiling a moment ago. Jack Abbott, one man who wasn't smiling, Ray Card. Ray had the job on Lee Matthews, I think, in the first half. I didn't see the game, Ray, but you were very disappointed with not only, I guess, your performance, but the team's today.
Well, that's for sure. I've played on Lee a few times before, and I've done quite well on him, and I was very confident today of holding him down to a few goals, but he cut loose in the first half, and there wasn't really much I could do about it. But we're all very disappointed for today's effort, and we're going to have to look forward to next year now.
Ray, is Lee Matthews the toughest player you've played on?
I don't know about the toughest now, but I'd say that he'd be the most wiliest around at the moment. He's getting on in years, but the years of experience have really told me he's nowhere near as quick as he was, but the brain's moving a lot quicker, and he gets to where the ball's going nearly all the time.
What about the future of Geelong? Malarkey was out today, Peake injured again. Are they likely to be there next year?
I'd say they certainly would be. Really, today was a bad performance by us, and we're very disappointed, because I think at the start of the year a lot of people had written us off as the bottom side, or the second bottom side, after a dismal failure at the second or the latter half of last year. And we performed quite well. It was only today's effort. We really wanted to get in the five to show the people that we were a force to be reckoned with. But I think the younger fellas that we've brought into the side over the last few games, the Simpsons, the Hockings, and Craig Cleve and fellas like that, are really going to put us on the map next year.
Ray, just a quick one from Doug, and a fairly quick
I just want to make it very quick, Pete. There's lots of talk about the future of Tom Hafey. The whispers we got today consistently were that Tom's been approached by another club, which is quite interesting. Maybe not being sacked by Geelong, but certainly got the opportunity to go elsewhere.
Ray, thanks for coming in. I'm sorry we had to cut it a little bit short there, but I don't think you're too unhappy about that. Sure. OK, Hawthorn by 69 points today. Up at Princess Park, well, the Swans led by 4 points at half-time, but Carlton won by 36 points. Carlton 20-19, 139. Swans 15-13, 103. Madden, Murphy and Ashman 4 for the Blues. Kappa 6 for the Swans. Morwood and Wayne Carroll 2 apiece. In footy bet, Carlton selection 6, dividend $5.05. Our man there today was Gareth Andrews.
Well, Peter, I feel a bit like Ray Walker, and perhaps we were both taken out of our misery today with the performances of both Footscray and Geelong. I did witness the performance of Carlton. They go into the finals on Saturday, and it's going to be a big question as far as Carlton are concerned, and that is whether or not they perform any better than they did in the elimination final last year. I doubt whether they can. I just doubt whether they do have the material to go on with it this year, the Carlton side. Certainly they've made it to third position, but they've got some enormous gaps in that side, and the biggest gap is right across that forward line. Kenny Hunter's been playing at full forward, and there's no doubt that he's not the answer, yet throughout the season Warren Ralph in big games has proven that he's not going to be the answer at full forward. They had goals today from both Justin Madden and Warren Jones, but I just can't imagine these players kicking 3 and 4 goals as they did today against the strength and the great strength of the Hawthorn defence. And if they come up against Collingwood or Fitzroy in the following game, well, I just can't see that Carlton can go on with it. The big plus as far as Carlton are concerned today was that their mosquito fleet came back to some sort of form. Ashman, I thought, was tremendous, and it was a great comeback effort by Kenny Sheldon. He's been out through injury all season, and I thought his performance was admirable. Fraser Murphy showed to himself also to be a good player. As far as the Swans were concerned, well, certainly it was their swan song as far as this season was concerned. They've given us some great performances and some great efforts during the year. I think they've got something to look forward to in Kappa. He's an excellent prospect. They've got a couple of other goers we know about in Ackley and Browning, but they just lack the depth, and that really showed out in the final analysis today.
And Gareth, a big one, rumours rife around town about the appointment or the approaching of Ray Jordan as coach next year.
Well, I believe that not only has he been approached, but mention made that the announcement will be made tomorrow that he will be coach of the Swans next year.
OK, Ray Jordan could be coach of the Sydney Swans next year. The Blues by 6 goals. Fitzroy never in doubt over St Kilda. Fitzroy 24-20, 164 by 57 points. St Kilda 15-17, 107. Quinlan 5 for 102. Osborne 5 and Barwick 4. Got a couple of goers there. And Lockett kicked 4 for St Kilda. Footy Bet Selection 9, dividend $3.35. Doug Bigelow for radio and Don Hyde for television today. First of all, it was a good day for radio. Doug Bigelow.
Yes, well, it was my pleasure to see complete St Kilda Fitzroy today. They're a very, very good side indeed, and it was just one of those days that it was exciting to be along to see their performance. They were excellent. I thought they were led very well by Reeves in the back line. Roos gave him good support. Their small players played very well, and they played with a great deal of confidence. Ever ready to admire St Kilda, I thought they played with the usual spirit, but they were completely undermanned. There's no doubt about that. I thought Sidebottom did a very good job in the ruck for them. The three C's, Cowie, Cronin, Cunningham, were good players for them, and Cowie. But it was just one of those good days that Fitzroy experienced. They had to win the game. They did it very well. It was grand to see everybody put out of their misery, well, not misery, their pleasure very quickly in the piece by Quinlan. He had the big job this afternoon of getting 3 to kick his 100. He did it very early in the piece in the first quarter and did it well.
He's been a powerhouse on the forward line in recent weeks for Fitzroy, and he kicks it over the half-forward line. Bernie Quinlan! What a fantastic leap after that spectacular mark, his third in the match, and having kicked 2 goals so far, has 99 goals to his name, kicks in for the 100th goal, and there it is!
Well, a big effort by Bernie Quinlan. What a magnificent effort it was by him today. Doug mentioned St Kilda was undermanned, and that was so. But in the centre, we saw Billy Loken playing very well for Fitzroy, but his opponent played a very good game as well, and that was Greg Burns. They played wide of each other. They were both good players, and in one particular passage of play, we see Greg Burns do a tremendous rugby-style run down the ground.
Burns on the half-back line, and what a good game he's played for St Kilda. There he goes, runs down to the centre wing and delivers the ball down towards Lockett in the full forward zone. Lockett tries to get it down to Cross.
Well, 2 players in the Fitzroy side who have had a lot to do with their rise into the 5 have been Carlson and Sidebottom. I suppose when you had to look for players who didn't do a lot for the effort today, you could name those 2. But they've picked up another player. He's built like a brick wash house, I suppose to say, and that is Barwick. There's no doubt about him. I was very impressed with his game today. Dynamic along with Richard Osmond, but Barwick, oh boy, is he exciting.
And kicks short into Barwick. Barwick and Elphinston. Barwick does well to keep it in and does brilliantly to keep it in. Play of the day, Doug Barwick. He'll go all the way. Look at the pace of the man as he kicks, and he's kicked the goal. Brilliant effort, Doug Barwick.
He certainly is built that way, Doug. I agree with you. The St Kilda defence was beleaguered pretty well for most of the day, but one player who really had plenty of work to do, and he did it well, was Robert Elphinston. He was cool in the crisis, and he had plenty of work to do, and we see him now delivering the ball beautifully, and it goes eventually to Lockett, who kicks his 3rd goal.
And he's played well. It's out towards the centre wing, and Elphinston, good effective play by him on the centre wing now. He has his 13th kick. Good play by Elphinston across to the half-forward line and delivers the ball perfectly to Andrew Cross.
And after the game, Nick Kay spoke to Bernie Quinlan and Robert Walls. Well, we hope he did anyway. Well,
100 goals, 2nd successive year.
Yeah.
How did it feel getting the 100?
Well, I felt plenty of relief when it sailed through because last year the tension was unbelievable, but it didn't feel so bad this year.
You took a fantastic mark to cap it all off. What was that? Was the lead up to that?
Oh, you know, I'd been trying to lead a fair bit, and it just happened that I'd led out and got the ride, and it stuck there, so it worked out all very well.
Congratulations on making the final 5. It's pretty much an unbelievable situation looking back over the last 6 weeks.
It certainly is, Nick. It's something that 6 weeks ago we didn't envisage happening, but just goes to show if you stick at it, and that's what the boys did. They played for each other and stuck together when we were down and out, and it's been that sort of a season where 11 games, 11 wins can get you into the finals, and we won the 6 games and we're there. It's a bit hard to believe.
What do you think has been the difference physically on the field, say between the first half of the year and the final 7 or 8 games?
Well, we've made a lot of positional changes. Players going from the defence to the forward line and vice versa.
new players have taken a while to settle down, such as Doug Barwick and Dean Turner from Interstate. They first, it's only natural, they struggle a bit early, but they've adjusted to the tempo of league football and both are playing very well. New boys in Tim Pekin and Peter Burke, Bernard Harris, it's their first year, and they put it all together towards the end of the season, and now we're shaping up as a good combination.
Well, Doug and Don, how far can they go?
Well, I think Fitzroy can beat Collingwood next week, but I think that if they meet Hawthorn or Essendon, I think they won't let them run as St Kilda did today, but they're a good side. They'll do well next week.
I was going to say they're running this fantastic. In a word, Biggs, likely to finish third
They'll
overall?
go further than the elimination final. Lovely to see a smile at long last to Robert Wolves' face.
OK, Fitzroy in the 5, a good win over St Kilda. The Bombers proved very accurate today in disposing and bombing North Melbourne. And the final score, Essendon 27-7, 169, North Melbourne 19-17, 131. Harvey, Danaher and Williams 4 for the Bombers. Jim Cracker 4, McDonald and Jonas 3 for North Melbourne. In footy bet, selection 7, dividend $4.75. David Mackay was there.
Yes, Peter, well, other scores might indicate differently. Really, it was little more than a practice run for Essendon today against North Melbourne. Essendon outclassed North Melbourne in just about every department, in skill, in teamwork, in defensive skills and strength and experience. They were just too good for the young North Melbourne side. Essendon's attack started right from the first bounce with Simon Madden continuing on his excellent form this year. He won just about every centre hit out and gave his small players, particularly Williams, Thompson, Harvey, Nagel and Watson, an armchair ride today, and they really capitalised on the good work of Simon Madden. These players consistently drove the ball forward and set up some really good forward moves that were finished off with accurate kicking, and that characterised Essendon's game today. Very accurate kicking. In fact, in the third quarter they kicked 8 goals straight, which was an excellent performance. North Melbourne, well, probably on today's form, they haven't improved quite as much as everyone would have liked them to. Probably they'll need to recruit some pretty good players next year. They've got some good young players in Densley, Mutimer, Harrington and Larkin, who are certainly players of the future, but they'll need some experience to cap these off. Essendon, on the other hand, really look a bit proppy in the defensive area, and they've got to pick this area of their game up coming into the finals, and if they don't, I'd say they'll be certainly exploited by some of the top teams.
OK, David, now in footy bet today, the double, the combinations 10 and 8, Hawthorn Collingwood paid $138.10, and the footy quad, Hawthorn Carlton Collingwood Essendon, 4-3-3 paid $118.15. OK, it's replay time and the final term from Victoria Park between Collingwood and Footscray. At three-quarter time, the Magpies led by 8 points. At that stage, the Footscray supporters full of expectancy and the Fitzroy supporters with their fingers crossed. We join commentators Clark
and Bernie Quinlan really dragging down some screamers. That one certainly would have